about 8 o'clock, and we are about to get started. Let me turn down the volume on my end so I can at least hear myself. I know you guys can hear the music. I don't know who's here. I'm just gonna give everybody a few moments to come on in. I've already shared it on Facebook, shared it on Twitter, shared it on Discord. I know I'm gonna be competing once again with different broadcasts that were going on, in particular baseball. Right now, the Dodgers just beating the shit out the Atlanta Braves. Let me actually check that score now, because it was 13-0 last I checked. All right, we got 2 people in here. Welcome. So, kind of back after a week hiatus. I was technically supposed to try to stream on Friday of last week, but that didn't happen. So let me check the score real quick. God damn! It is 15-1. If the Dodgers ever wanted to make their way back into the series, this is how you do it. This is how Atlanta chokes. It's like Darth Vader in the dark, distant realms of space has a force choke ability on all Atlanta teams right now. That's crazy. But let me lift the lid, because I know you're tired of just hearing a voice and not seeing who I am. So welcome to episode 4. I call it episode Tom Brady of what the fuck just happened. So it looks like we're going to be talking about Alex Smith and his comeback. We're going to be going over the Washington football team's rebuild. See if anybody has any ideas. I know I'm gonna express my thoughts on their rebuild so far, because a lot of folks just seem to want to just this idea of instant gratification, instant turnaround, instant results is ruining any type of development for this team. So, and we'll be going over NHL 21 slider thoughts. I'm waiting on my copy to unlock. I got the regular edition, so that's not going to unlock until midnight Friday morning. Thursday night, whatever you want to call it. So I think after the podcast over at First and Frame Rates. And by the way, I'd like to shout out to the fellas VF and Bills. You know, we do a podcast every Tuesday and Thursday evenings about 7:45. I'm no longer saying 7:30 because we haven't gone at 7:30 quite some time, but starts at 7:45 Eastern Standard Time, 7:45, 8 o'clock, like the range times, Tuesdays and Thursday evenings. So we talk about sports and video games. And in a way, when I do my streams on Wednesdays, I kind of do a carryover of that. So I just go into topics that maybe I didn't have time to really bring up on the podcast, topics that I definitely want to expound upon. And then there's the no-go zone as far as topics that we really don't want to go on First and Frame Rates, and that is politics. And yes, that's gonna pop up because yeah, we have to talk about Ice Cube, and we have to talk about this, and we're not gonna talk about it too long. We definitely have to talk about this blow up by Nancy Pelosi on CNN, Wolf Blitzer. They did the interview. I don't know. I guess it was today. Yeah, we'll talk about that. So we're gonna go over all that, and we're also doing Q&A. And yeah, I think you guys will enjoy it. What do you think? You guys ready? There's only one of you here, so somebody gotta say something. And you know what? Oh no, it's not, definitely not me. So if you're able to put something in the chat please let me know. Just wave, you know, hi, be like somebody's lurking or what have you. But let's see, what time is it? It's 5 minutes till, or 5 minutes past, and we're just gonna get right into it. So let's switch on over. So, and by now you guys know who I am. I'm DJ81, but on this channel I'm Evo325 because DJ81 is taken. And yeah, so let's get into it. So this was Alex Smith back in 2018. Was playing the Houston Texans. It was obviously in our throwback jerseys. It was the homecoming game that we played in. And on a play, Alex Smith dropped back just as normal, rushed on the play by J.J. Watt. And I forgot who the other rusher was in. He was being blocked by Moses. They all fell on him, and his leg snapped like a twig. That's basically what happened. So, pretty much everyone thought his career was over. Well, were we wrong? Because here he is, fast forward to 2020, after Kyle Allen, yes, they coming for me. I've been talking bad about the government again. Fast forward to 2020, Kyle Allen, I guess on the play before this, rushed, scrambled out the pocket, got hurt because Jalen Ramsey's still fuming over him and Tate. So he took it out on our quarterback, knocked him out pretty much for the game, and in comes Alex Smith. Now, his family was in the stands, and they were, I could tell, I think everybody shared the same feeling of dread when he came into the game. I would say there was a ton of simultaneous emotions going on. This wasn't one emotion, then another. Everybody was feeling everything at the same time. They were feeling dread, they were feeling hopeful, they were happy, they were kind of pissed off because Jalen Ramsey forced this upon us. Mother Nature wasn't cooperating because it was raining, even though it looks clear in the picture that you guys are seeing, but it really got bad as the game went on. You see, he started out just regular. He wasn't wearing any gloves. He wound up finishing the game with two gloves to be able to grip the football. The team didn't do too well. Matter of fact, probably its worst performance of the year. It definitely in the air. Alex Smith was sacked 6 times. And that's another thing that everybody was wondering. It was like, is that leg gonna hold up? Well, the first person on the opposing team to greet Alex on the field during the play was Aaron Donald, the beast defensive tackle. Sometimes he slides out at the edge. He takes advantage. Everybody's a mismatch that he goes up against. So I think Wes Marin, I guess his name is Marin Martin. Some people say Martin. I thought it was Marin. I don't know. Really, at this point, I don't care because this dude sucks at left guard and should be benched. And we'll talk about that in the rebuild because there's a whole bunch of players that need to be benched. I mean, they already benched the quarterback. That's why we're at Alex Smith, and that's why we were at Kyle Allen in the first place. So it is comical that we're here. But Aaron Donald, like I said, first one to greet him, and proceeds to jump on this man's back. I thought it was I thought his leg was gonna buckle. I really thought his leg was gonna buckle. This man walked with Aaron Donald on his back for 3 steps. Then he fell to the ground. They had a clip of Aaron Donald on the sideline after the Washington football team punted the ball and the Rams offense was on the field. They had Aaron Donald on the sideline, and you could hear him mouth, "That motherfucker leg strong." So apparently that leg is okay for now. He did get beat the fuck up. He got sacked 6 times. Well, he's definitely automatically nominated for Comeback Player of the Year. He probably already won it, just for the fact that he's on the field, playing in a game during the regular season under COVID pandemic conditions with Washington. With that offensive line, man, he should be awarded a Purple Heart. That's how I think, that's how far this can go. Congressional Medal of Freedom, Alex Smith. Congratulations and welcome back to the hell we call the Washington football team. And with that being said, there's really no more to say about Alex individually, because he pretty much, I'm like, people can criticize him all they like about his performance. The man was gone from football for 2 years, really only resumed activities since, I guess, the tail end of last year. Really hyped it up, but didn't have a preseason, didn't have a real training camp to get used to the system. And you'll find that as a recurring theme with the quarterback situation in Washington. So, speaking of which, so this is kind of like a rehash. I wanted to use Dwayne Haskins in this image as kind of like a placeholder. I can always be hopeful and go back to the Alex Smith, but then I can go to the first one, the first clip, and yeah, we're not going to do that. So we're going to go with Dwayne Haskins, because this is where it's going to start. So Dwayne Haskins was benched, and we talked about this on First and Frame Rates, but I want to get into it a little bit more. And I know I talk about the fact that, you know, this tends to happen to our black quarterbacks. They get ridiculed for no reason, for no real reason, for the typical stuff. Oh, he can't read defenses, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, the stuff that casual watchers of the game will talk about. Now, here's the thing. Since we're starting at quarterback, with this being a true... Wait a minute, let me hear this. Oh, it was only on for a quick second. I thought something familiar was about to play. But, okay, so Dwayne Haskins starts the season 4 games in. Now, remind you, again, no minicamp, no OTAs, no real training camp other than just practice. They just practiced the whole entire time until they went to the regular season. No preseason games. So these first 4 games were treated like a preseason. You got to see Dwayne Haskins take all the snaps for the first 4 games. One thing that Ron Rivera has said from the very beginning is that everyone is being evaluated. Nobody has anything guaranteed a spot. So Dwayne doing in practice, and I said this on First and Frame Rates, that yeah, you would go with the incumbent starter just for continuity. And that's what he did. He's seen the tape on him last year in the system that we were running with J. Dumbass Gruden and Bill Callahan. Seen some flashes. And then we kind of seen some flashes in these first 4 games. But the problem was that you had that hot flash for the first game, and then the next 3 games just proceeded to kind of like, the next 2 kind of spiraled downward, and then he kind of steadied himself but didn't really progress forward to maintain the fact that he would be the starter going forward. Now, going forward is a infinite amount of time. So it could mean for the next 4 games, it could be for the next season, it could be forever. So a lot of people are already saying that Ron Rivera has given up on Dwayne Haskins. And to my knowledge, he literally said, I am not giving up on his kid's development. Because if you go back and if you look into the amount of games that Dwayne Haskins has started, and I don't know if I wrote it down here. But between the 5 games he played in his freshman year and the 13 games, that's 18 games he played in college. The 13 he started, he had a great year, 50 touchdowns, whatever. But really, 1 year as a starter at Ohio State University when we drafted him. 4 games this year, I guess. What was it? I know he was thrown in the Giants game. I don't know. That's why I hated Jay. There's another reason why I hated Jay Gruden. I was glad they fired his bitch ass. I guess it was like, what, 7 games? 7 games he played? I probably had to look back. But it was a good amount of games that towards the end he started getting better as he got more comfortable in that system. So 18 games in college, 13 as a starter. I would say it's 11 games. So about almost 30 games of playing at quarterback, like all around. So he really didn't get a chance to get into the nuance of playing the position in college, and now he has 2 things to worry about. He has to learn about playing in the NFL and learning the nuances of, actually he has 3 things to worry about. Playing in the NFL, learning the nuances of playing quarterback, and now he's learning a different system. So there's 3 things, and he's behind. He's way behind. Now, I know there have been comparisons out there. They look at Justin Herbert of the LA Chargers, and they'll say, well, this cat didn't have OTAs, mini camps, and so and so. And you still, you still see mistakes that he makes, but you can tell he already has a nuanced approach to how to play quarterback, because this man played 4 years as a starter at the college. I think Herbert's from Oregon. Anybody can correct me on that, let me know. But he was a starter at Oregon. Oh, I'm probably not going to look up any of the information. I just want to get through everything. But 4-year starter at Oregon. And he's started the last 3 games because they stabbed Tyrod Taylor in the chest. If that ain't a conspiracy, I don't know what it isn't. But it, regardless of the fact. So Justin's already in his rookie season. If you want to compare, okay, Dwayne Haskins in his rookie year compared to Justin Herbert in his rookie year, Justin Herbert overall is well ahead of Dwayne Haskins in terms of development. You may say that's crazy because Dwayne Haskins has more NFL games, but we got to look at the overall picture of it: college career and professional career. We have to look at everything, and Dwayne Haskins is obviously nowhere near at the developmental point of where Justin Herbert is. Like, Justin definitely is ready to play under any system in the NFL. It's obviously shown in his performance. So, if anything, what would help Dwayne Haskins if we had a strong running game, and if Scott Turner, see, and this is another thing where there's a lot of issues with this Washington football squad in this rebuild season, and that's what I gotta remind everybody. This is a rebuild situation. That means we have no idea what's going to work. No one has a clue what's going to work. Our front 4 is the strongest part of our team, but then the back 7, you don't know what the hell is going on there. So it's kind of crazy that people are turning on Ron Rivera. People are giving up on Dwayne Haskins. And people are definitely misinterpreting everything that I believe that Ron Rivera is talking about. Yes, he has a quarterback that he brought in from Carolina that is familiar with the system. But here's the thing that we also have to understand, even with Kyle Allen at quarterback. Scott Turner is the play caller. He wasn't calling the plays in Carolina. I did not even know that was the case. That was all North. So all that stuff you saw in Carolina, that was North Turner calling the plays. That wasn't his son Scott. Scott is learning the position. We have so many people. We have a young team almost everywhere. We have youth in the front office. We have youth in the coordinator spot. We have youth on the field. And we have this fan base who's acting like we have a bunch of veterans playing this way. These are players, most of these players on this field are trying to find their way. You could look at a few players here and there. Like you can look at a Ryan Kerrigan, Thomas Davis, what's the safety's name? People, not Troy Apke. Apke, he definitely wasn't on the field much, and he's starting to get better, but he's still learning. I can tell he's still learning. I've played free safety at times, and there are things that you're trying to scan. Like when you're playing. Okay, we'll talk about Troy Apke. The thing about playing free safety is that you're depending on the coverage. You're responsible for either scanning the whole field in front of you, or you're responsible for scanning your half of the field. But to tell you the truth, you're always scanning, because you don't know where receivers going to enter your zone, because they don't put free safeties are what they are. Free safeties, they're not put on a person. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're on an island, and people literally will fly across your face. You're wondering, should I jump that route? Then they'll probably flash somebody coming at you to make you back off. So a lot of times when you're surveying the field as a free safety, you are literally analyzing everything all at once. You also have to have confidence in your teammates, like your fellow safety who's possibly back there. That's if it's a cover 2, or even a cover 3 situation, the person next to you, cover 3, cover 4. All those situations rely on confidence in the person next to you. You could be in column, like most of the time the safeties are in like the middle 2 and a cover 4. Depending upon the strength of what the defense is seeing, sometimes you're the middle, sometimes you're the last person in a cover 3. You could be the up guy. Who knows? But cover 1, you're basically by yourself. You basically are just on your own. So he gets caught flat-footed. He's slow to react on stuff. He's not the only one that's learning the position. We have young players at corner. Young players definitely still have young. We have Chase Young, which my God, he definitely is a difference maker. So hey, what's up, Quayface? So glad you're here. I wonder if you were here the whole entire time, just couldn't really speak or anything. But yeah, we have Chase Young. We have Jonathan Allen, and I don't get this whole comparison with Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne. That's not a comparison. They're on the same squad. They're on the field at the same time. One's probably eating up a double team as we speak, and it's more likely Daron Payne. Allen usually gets, most of the time, is one-on-one. May get a double team. So, and then you got Montez Sweat on the other edge. Man, do we have potential on the edge between Young and Sweat? I am not gonna repeat those last names in that order. I'll probably just flip them. That's what I'll do. So because Kerrigan's not gonna be there much longer, he's pretty much. I'm like, best Washington can do so you can get this man on a contender is to trade him, get him on a contender, so he can at least experience a form of success outside the first round of playoffs. He deserves it. He definitely deserves it. I wish he had more than one move. You know, like folks accused Brian Arakpo of having just one move back in the day, but hey, he was the wrong skin tone apparently. So so we have potential on our front line, but there's youth everywhere on our offensive line. I'm like, Morgan Moses is probably, we need a middle backer that can cover. No, you need to turn somebody, one of your DBs that has size to him, into a cover linebacker. Didn't they have somebody that they drafted and they just haven't? I don't know if he's playing this year. Harvey Clemens, I guess was his name. He was supposed to be that guy. The only way you're going to be able to cover... See, we thought we had a guy, and this guy just turned cuckoo. And that was, what's his face? He went to Philly afterwards. Yeah, Josh. It was Josh Harvey Clemens. Yeah, that's crazy. They never used him for what he looked like he was supposed to do. He was supposed to be like a nickel linebacker that could cover, and they didn't use him. So they need to find they need to find a safety with size that can hang, that obviously will be able to cover a tight end or whatnot. A tight end versus a linebacker usually is a mismatch. I don't care who it is. I really don't care who it is. I'm like, the linebacker, like, if you're going to put a linebacker, at least have him with some speed and agility. Because we'll have, like, speed, but they won't have the agility, and they don't have the cover skills whatsoever. So you definitely need to get, like, a strong safety that has speed and agility and can cover, and put them on the tight end. Or put one of your DBs on them tight ends. Do something. I'm like, we've seen a DB bring down a big wide receiver to save a game. Darrell Green guarded Michael Irvin for most of his career. You mean to tell me we can't put a DB on a tight end? They're virtually almost the same size now these days. But just to go to the offensive line, we have Morgan Moses. Scherf is on the shelf, but he's been practicing. He pretty much... that makes... I kind of look at that whole line is that they're going to have to rebuild. They're going to have to scrap that whole offensive line, start from the beginning. They're going to have to draft a whole bunch of linemen, maybe get some in the free agency that match the system a little bit. I would say if Moses' contract is coming up, even though he's kind of been the steady one, but shoot, it's kind of like a low bar when you look at the people on the left side. John Christian is horrible right now, but the thing is, he's been on the team, he's been developing for several years. So the fact that we let Trent go for this, fuck you, Bruce Allen. And then, like I said, Wes Marion, whoever he is, he needs to be benched. He needs to be benched. They need to put the rookie at left tackle. I think his name is Sadiq Charles, or Charles Sadiq. And you put him at left tackle. The guy Schweisinger, put him at left guard. Keep Roulier in there. Scherf comes back, plant him in there, and then Moses can shore it up right now. But we're gonna eventually have to get another right tackle because he's been hurt. He hasn't been 100%, and he's been playing through injuries the whole entire time. I give him the Wounded Warrior award, but he's definitely. I think this man may call it quits in a couple of years. He keeps playing with injuries like that because he comes up with ankle injuries. The biggest thing with him is ankle injuries, knee, something. So that's what I would say about that offensive line. Let me switch to the culture change aspect of the Washington football team, because I feel like people thought this was going to be an instantaneous type of thing. And to my knowledge, that's not how it works. When this franchise didn't just replace coaches and certain players and just allow the team to just go young for no reason. They've replaced front office people, scouting department, medical staff. They don't even have a name. They don't have an identity. The owner is the really only holdover. We got Doug Williams, but no one's really heard from him, except in these quarterback roundtables that they have. I'm like, Julie Donaldson has been doing a great job in the media department. I figured she was gonna assume that role right when it was open. And just other than like the audio issues with doing stuff on Zoom, as far as doing the interviews, she's been doing just fine. I give it up to her. But they've literally cleaned house. Now, not everyone is gone, but the main person above, Daniel Snyder, is still here. Hopefully they buy his ass out. Hopefully they're still putting pressure on to buy him out. But what were folks expecting from this squad? Did they look at the defense and think the defense was going to carry us through the season alone? Did they look and realize that what's this team's brand of football? What are they going to be like? We can look back to what Ron Rivera did at Carolina. We could talk about the fact that he did make it to the Super Bowl, which none of the coaches that we've had, because I've seen people talk about, Ron Rivera's had like multiple losing seasons. It was like, well, we've gone through multiple losing seasons with none of our coaches making it out. Well, actually, no, Joe Gibbs was the only one to make it out the first round. It's the only one to make it out the first round and get to the divisional playoff. And that's crazy. The only time we've been in a divisional playoffs is under Joe Gibbs on the second run. And I feel like Ron Rivera is in a situation just like Joe Gibbs entered into the situation when he first was hired. Joe Gibbs was 0-5, people. It's 0-5 in his first games as head coach of the Washington football team. Well, then the Redskins at the point. I figure it's fine to say Redskins because that's who they were. Not going to censor the past because the future doesn't want to acknowledge it anymore. But when he was hired by the Washington Redskins, he was 0-5. Now, Jack Cook was about to fire his ass. He had a quarterback that, with the same number as Dwayne Haskins, that he didn't quite get along with. And it's documented that they didn't get along. But they eventually garnered a mutual respect. What I'm trying to say is that if Joe Gibbs would have been exposed, like if he was hired in 2020 and went 0-5 with what he had to deal with back then, y'all would have been frying his ass on Twitter. Y'all would have been screaming for his job. You were like, what the hell's going on? Y'all wouldn't have been able to handle it, knowing damn well it was a rebuild season. So, hey, what's up? Villain in Black, that's Doug Thomas, I believe. Hopefully that's Doug. Because he said he was going to be here. So, because sometimes I see Villain in Black and I'm like, is that Doug? Is that Doug? So, but what's up? Welcome. I'm in the middle of this Washington football team rebuild, and okay, good. Yeah, so I'm in the middle of just laying out this whole Washington rebuild because people just seem to not understand. People in our fan base, I can understand if people on the outside of the franchise are looking at us and like, ah, like what's going on? Yeah, I can understand that, because that I do that to other franchises. When I'm looking at other franchises, like, ah, look at the Eagles, they're about to put in Jalen Hurts. But you know, obviously that hasn't happened. But yeah, folks don't know what happens in a rebuild. With a young team with no identity, new faces everywhere. They have new faces everywhere. I'm about to have a drink, because this requires more energy. And that will be a segue to I am sponsored by Rogue Energy. If you go to rogueenergy.com, type in DJ81 when you check out, and you'll get a discount. So nice clean energy, tastes good. They just came out with a new flavor for their extreme flavor. Green, what was it? Green apple? Was it wild apple? Let me look at it as I go into commercial mode. Yep, green apple. There it is. So go on over to rogueenergy.com, and when you're checking out, put in DJ81 to get your discount. All right, that was me trying to do my my best VF when he was doing the uninterrupted commercials on First and Frame Rates. So all right, so Doug is like, yeah, they don't understand what the rebuild chemistry has to be restored to. Yep, exactly. Has to be, yes, has to be restored and has to be established. I think in a rebuild it's more established than restored, because you're really trying to get rid of the parts that don't fit. And right now, everyone is also looking at this like they went through a preseason, like they went through OTAs and stuff like that. Some people, they pick and choose what they want to say to justify some of their dumbass takes, especially in this, well, really in this fan base. All my vitriol is aimed at this fan base, because some of these people are full of shit. Honestly, they're really full of shit. So speaking of trying to figure out what fits, what doesn't fit, we can kind of talk about that a little bit. I'll be the first one to say it. Dwayne Haskins does fit. He just needs more development. So he only started 13 games in college, played 18 total. Compared to Justin Herbert, I already sat there and said Justin Herbert's in college started over 40 games. So just make sure. Yep, started over 40 games, 52 to be exact, I think. So, for a 4-year starter compared to a 1-year starter, the development is way in favor of Justin Herbert. So to see him perform the way he has, I'm not shocked. Dwayne Haskins needs more seasoning. It's just like somebody's cooking. It's just like somebody putting on Thanksgiving. They go to cook the turkey and they take the turkey out too soon. That's what Dan Snyder did. Giants were about to do the same thing, so don't act like this was a don't act like we were the only ones about to make that mistake, because Daniel Jones is struggling right now. So, but the difference between us and the Giants, they committed to Daniel Jones. We kind of was like, Jay Gruden at first was like, oh, we're just going to push him out there. See what he does. All right, we won't see him for the rest of the season. Then Jay Gruden gets fired. And then Bill Callahan eventually goes to Dwayne Haskins. So, I believe Dwayne Haskins fits. Antonio Gibson definitely will fit. He will be the feature back for this squad. I correctly called that Terry McLaurin, after training camp last year, was going to be our number one, and here we are. He is definitely our number one. Sometimes rookie QBs need to sit for you. See, and that's the thing. I grew up in a time where rookie quarterbacks didn't play right away. in a lot of cases, there was a veteran starter that would play ahead of them. The reason why we are even in this situation in Washington is because Alex Smith broke his leg. We were 6-2 going into that game, and people would see. And this is where I get on the fan base, because they were getting on Alex Smith, but he was winning ball games. That man was 6-2 when he broke his leg. The Washington Redskins in 2018 were 6-2. This wasn't last year. This was 2 years ago. We're 6-2. We haven't even won 6 games since he got hurt. So we wouldn't be in this situation if Alex Smith didn't get hurt, didn't get injured. But since we are here, because we're not going to deal with hypotheticals, we're going to deal with reality. Since we are here, Dwayne was drafted last year. He is slated still to be the quarterback of the future. Whether people doubt it or not, he still needs more work. He needs more seasoning. He needs more time in the oven. Let this man cook, not on the field. Let him cook on the sideline for a little bit. Let him get a little. Nah, I'm not even gonna go there because that goes into skin coloring. Let him marinate a little bit, and in the end, it's up to him. One thing he will have to do. He is gonna have to grow up quick. That's what the NFL does. You have to grow up quick. What do you think he needs to work on the most? I think it's fundamentals, really. His foot planting, like that front foot. I feel like his front foot, when he throws the ball, is non-existent. Like, because half the time he throws, a lot of and I know this from pitching. I had a pitching coach when I was 13. Before then, I tried to pitch, and the ball would sail everywhere. I would hit batters. I would hit everything but the strike zone. A pitching coach got with me, and it was like the first thing. And the guy's name was Charlie Gale. I think he's long past. I think, but this man saved my pitching career in little leagues. But the simple thing he taught me was that your front foot is the first step, almost literally, is the first step to getting better accuracy. Because your front foot, once it lands, when you're about to throw, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, is the first indicator of where the ball is going to go. Now, in baseball, it's a little bit different, because then the second indicator is the release timing of the pass, of the ball when you pitch. Let's see, does he go through all his reads? Because that can be a problem too. I think he's trying to go through his reads, but this is where play calling comes into an issue. They needed to treat him like a rookie and give him 1 or 2 reads. New system he's learning. He's got to slowly. Hey, what's up, Antonio? He's got to slowly start eating up the playbook. But at the same time, that could be also the fact. I'm like, people can study the play. Like, when I understand how complicated offenses can be in the NFL. When you're the quarterback, you got to understand way more than everyone else. It's like, because you got to understand pass protection, you got to understand possible audibles based on formations that you're in, based on personnel that you have. You have to memorize the routes that your receivers are running. You also got to memorize what calls you can make, your hot routes. You got to memorize your running back cues, where they're going, what steps they're taking, your steps, whether the play is calling for a 3-step drop, 5-step drop, 7-step drop. You got to understand the defense that's in front of you. You got that one. You got to study that in the film room, and you got to study that on the field, because even though you'll see something in the field, in the film room, you'll probably see something completely different on the field. And through all that, you have to trust what you're seeing. You have to trust what you know. You fall back to your knowledge. Like, if you go up to the line and you read that the strength of the defense is on the right-hand side, particularly up front, you kind of want to slide the protection to that side. But then if it looks like somebody's going to creep on the backside, you have the ability to position your running back if there's one back there, or call a hot route, especially if you're in the shotgun. All these things. But basically what I'm saying is that Dwayne Haskins is not going to put it together because you guys are mad that we're losing. He's going to eventually, for me, I feel like, let him sit on the sideline. He got his 4 games this year under this system. He was evaluated. And Ron Rivera was like, all right, I've seen enough. All right, let's go with, let's show him from the sideline how the offense is supposed to be ran, because I have a guy that ran this offense last year. Kyle Allen was not brought in to be the quarterback of the future. Oh no. A lot of people don't understand that when you're developing a quarterback, there are dueling priorities. Ron talked about that. There's a situation we can win some ball games. There's a locker room that wants to win some games. And these are winnable games. Apparently, we have the second easiest schedule for these stretches, like for the rest of the season. Doesn't mean anything because the team's young and experienced, and we're going to lose some of those games that you would think we're supposed to win. But people are just all over the place, because people literally will just fall for, oh, so you want to win now? Well, let's get this person, let's get this person. Like, we're not in a situation to instantly win or be contenders. Ron even sat there and said, hey, let's see what happens. But no one wants to wait to see what happens. People want to solve the problems of the Washington football team without understanding the problem, the central part of the issue with the Washington franchise. And isn't that is they're in a rebuild mode. There's nothing you fans can do about that. Everybody's trying to catch Ron Rivera in a lie. The man's fighting cancer. Leave his ass alone. They're trying to catch him in a lie. They're trying to call him a hypocrite. They're trying to do all these things. This is a fan base, understandably, that's tired of losing. You can send all your vitriol at Daniel Snyder and not Ron Rivera. Ron Rivera just got into the situation, and he's just as he's learning where these players fit in this system. These players are trying to figure out where they fit in this system. What about your O-line? What do you think your weakness is? I said the weakness is really all of them. I don't think there is a strength in that line. I feel like they do have to rebuild from the line, from the inside out. Moses is probably gonna be gone. Sheriff, I don't know what they're gonna do because he's constantly injury prone. But he's our best lineman, is Sheriff. So I think Sheriff will stick around. But they're going to have to rebuild that line and bring in fresh people, whether it's through free agency or through the draft. Most likely through the draft, because you want to get somebody to stabilize that left. I'm like, you do need a veteran to stabilize that left tackle spot until you get somebody young. Like, or maybe just, I guess, when, what's the name, Charles is healthy enough. When Sadiq Charles is healthy enough, have him assume the left tackle spot, but we definitely need somebody to stabilize that left tackle spot. We got right-handed. All of our quarterbacks are right-handed, so we need somebody in that left tackle spot. Definitely need somebody at left guard. We just need people that can stabilize that left side. And I felt like with the guy that went to Miami we had at left guard, we let him go. That was stupid. So we did a lot of stuff the year before Ron Rivera took over that's hindering us now, especially not having Trent Williams. If Trent Williams were here, I think Haskins would be still playing because he would be given more time. There'd be more stability. You wouldn't have to worry about the left guard so much because Trent Williams is over there. So it's just, this was supposed to be a rebuild season from the get-go, and people are not understanding that this is going to be a take your lumps type of season. Take your lumps quiet. Like, take your lumps. You have a right to complain that your team is losing, that our team is losing, but don't sit there and do the same exact things like Bruce Allen is running the team or Jay Gruden's coaching the team. And, you know, when it comes to culture change, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, one of the last things to change in that culture is the fan base. The fan base is the last to change. And the fan base, all about conspiracy theories. They want to read in between the lines with a coach that's literally line for line telling you and leaving no space in between them. He's literally leaving none. He's telling you, he's being as transparent as possible, but this stuff he's going to keep in-house. They asked him today about if Dwayne Haskins asked for a trade, and he's like, look, I'm not discussing football business. I'll tell you what I think about Dwayne, and I'll think about his performance, but when it comes to, you know, decisions of that nature, that's between me and the front office and that player. Whether Dwayne said, yes, I want to trade or not, it's none of your goddamn business. And that's another thing that fans hate. They hate when a coach fires back. Ron Rivera has been flaming some of these fans and flaming some of these media members too. And folks need this fire. They need to get flamed. Because if people be reaching for shit, people want to get the quick scoop, the dirt, because that's what they're used to. Let me see. Doug's like, just need to take it easy and let the new front office go through the process of a rebuild. Yes! We watched the Washington Capitals go through a rebuild many years ago, and eventually we got the Stanley Cup championship. Watched the Nationals, who were coming from Montreal, go through take their lumps, rebuild, and eventually become World Series champs. Mystics went through a rebuild. They took their lumps. They became champions. Washington has gone through a couple, but have been in denial about being in rebuild. The Wizards. I would think that, see, there are teams that you know are in a rebuild but are in denial. Washington, the football team, been in denial for quite some time. We needed to be in rebuild mode for the last 5 years. I'm gonna tell you this right up front. Even when Kirk Cousins was here, I believe we still should have been. Like, we made the playoffs in 2015. That was a fluke. It was a fluke because Kirk Cousins got hot. He flamed everybody. Like, he flamed the Eagles, flamed the Giants, filleted the Cowboys. And basically, we got in. But we couldn't beat the Packers for some reason. That was our first round opponent, and we lost that game. Because Kirk Cousins flamed out. But we were an overachieving team. We weren't supposed to be there. No one wants to acknowledge that, but we weren't supposed to be there that year. So we literally have not worked on rebuilding, developing anybody for the last 5 years. So we want to talk about anybody behind the curve. It's us. As far as developing players at different positions. I know Eagles fans, they're talking about Darby not doing well last year, and the fact that Darby is doing some work this year with us. That stuff has happened here. Unfortunately, Kirk Cousins, it's not happening. He took all that big money, and now all he did was increase his production by 1 touchdown for that 1 year. And he's stuck on right now. He's 6 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So he's kind of screwing things up in his own damn self. But like I said, the last things to change in any culture change situation is the fan base. The organization has pretty much gone through most of their changes, and you do see the operation running differently. You still have some old parts that have to work itself out. And then when it comes to the football team, you still have holdovers that are going to find out whether they fit or not. This team has no name, no identity. They don't know who their quarterback's going to be. Dwayne doesn't even know where to plant his foot when he throws the ball. Because obviously, Dwayne has showed... Oh, that's the music. I heard the alarm go. I was like, hold on, was that my watch? But nah, that's the music. Dwayne has shown an ability to be able to read defenses. He has looked. He shows flashes of looking off people and hitting the correct receivers, making throws that, like Rivera said, he does have an NFL arm. He just needs NFL type accuracy. The only way he's going to get NFL type accuracy if his confidence is up, 2, his fundamentals are sound, and 3, he has a better understanding of how to play quarterback in the NFL. Because you can't always do it with your arm. You see how many angles he can throw the ball? He can throw the ball sidearm. He can throw it off his back foot. He does everything but throw the ball with a sound base. He's scrambling. He's throwing it off the wrong foot. And like his elbow is not being driven down when he throws. He's kind of like doing this. Like he kind of like not short-armed it, but he kind of releases it early. You know, in basketball, if you release it early, it goes high. But with like in football, you're like when you're teaching fundamental football, it's like you get it and you drive down. It's like a handshake. What I was taught in high school is that when you're throwing the ball as a quarterback, it's like extending your hand for a handshake. I'm like, it's a robotic look, but that's basically what you're doing. Like the tomahawk chop, you're extending your hand. I don't see him doing that enough. So I think he needs to keep his elbow down, drive off his front foot, not off his back foot, and just, you can still let her rip and just have confidence and just get in his playbook more. Like, I don't think he's not getting in his playbook. I think he just lacks the deeper understanding of what the system is asking him to do. And with him learning a different system, that's going to take a little bit longer than typical. Like, if he was in the system he was in last year towards the tail end, I think he would have been just fine. They would still have Adrian Peterson. They would have been running the ball like crazy. And that would have been that. But I think tight end needs to be addressed. Like I said, there's a whole bunch of positions. They have youth almost everywhere on that team. All in all, overall, the team on the field is going to develop talent. The approach to how to operate this football team from the GM down is it has changed in who the faces are, and you can kind of see how it's being operated. But now you have players that are holdovers from how it was ran. It's gonna take time. I give this team 3 years. Like 3 years. This is year 1. It's always in the 3rd year you can tell, because that coach will have his players in the system, the front office, everybody would have had the same. That just like what was it? Just like Doug, you said it earlier. I don't know if you're still watching. That chemistry has to be restored. It has to be established. Once that's established and you have continuity all up and down the okay, good. From the front office down and then onto the field, you have the same players around you for multiple games, multiple years. You're gonna eventually get consistency and you're gonna gain the chemistry and you're gonna have success. Let's see, Antonio's like, you think they will be back in the playoffs next season? No. And they back in the playoffs, they haven't been in the playoffs since 2015. And like I said, even then that was a fluke. I don't see them in the playoffs until like year 3. That's my forecast. And even then, year 3 would be like, okay, there's still stuff that could pop up. Injuries, players could retire. Coach Rivera's got cancer and he's fighting it, but you know, stuff he could all of a sudden just retire. I'm not wishing death on him, but he could just be like, look, I've tried to fight this as much as I can, but I can't coach and fight this at the same time. I may have to just give it up and just focus on the fight so he can stay in the fight, so he can stay in this game of life. And I'd much rather him do that and then Jack Del Rio take over. But everybody is learning about each other in a unusual season without OTAs, without minicamp. Everybody is behind the curve, and that goes for everybody in the NFL. It's just that depending upon the stage and point of your franchise will help you understand who's going to be more successful. The teams that are ahead, the contending teams are going to be fine as far as this season is concerned. The rebuilding teams are going to struggle the most, and we're seeing it. So I think these fans need to relax, take a chill pill, you know, cheer the team, you know, boo certain moments. You can boo your own players. You can do all that stuff. But don't be reaching Monday through Saturday. Don't be reaching for stories, for clicks, for hot takes, and making these dumbass comparisons and being hypocritical and even going after certain players, calling players immature when I don't think anybody was really mature at 22. It would be a rarity. So alright, so Doug's like, he's a trooper though for going through chemo and coaching. Man, that has to take a toll. Tough SOB there. Yeah, he was part of that 85 Chicago Bears linebacking core. But yeah, to be able to do all that and then put up the shit that he has to go through with these fans. These fans are full of these fans. People out here being righteous, talking about, well, he's not above criticism. I was like, bitch, I want you to go out there and fight cancer, fight these fans, and fight the media. All that stress that Ron Rivera is going through, and you got the nerve to be like just going in on him like you want him out of there like tomorrow. People that think they know football really don't know football, especially these casual people. These casual people out here. Like, I can appreciate the people who watch film and we can talk about, okay, what we see on the footage. Like, it was one guy, I think he lives here in Columbia. He watches all 22, and he literally lays out a thread and says, hey, this is what, you know, happened on this play, Dwayne, whatever. Because it's funny, what we all found out is that it doesn't matter if it's Dwayne back there, Kyle, or Alex Smith. We pretty much have like 3 stages. We have a pretty much still damn near rookie quarterback. We have a kind of, you know, young. We have a young NFL player with a few years on the league, and we have an aging veteran coming off what was thought to be a career-ending injury, and they all crumbled because of that offensive line. So I think folks need to just, like I said, just sit back, let this season play out. It's gonna be terrible. It's gonna get bad. It's gonna get ugly. That's what I thought before the season. I had no expectations. I figured this team was gonna finish in last place. I didn't figure the whole division was gonna go to shit, but apparently it did. So all right, so I think we kind of went through the gambit as far as Washington's rebuild struggles. Anybody got it? Like, shout out to Doug, shout out to Antonio. I know Quayface was here earlier. Shout out to you guys for providing the questions and just chiming in. So I think where we're gonna go into next will be, because we're gonna bring this man back out again. So episode 3, I brought this man out because we were talking about, I believe we were talking about just what impressions were of some of the gameplay features. Well, after playing the game through EA Play in the trial, I am thoroughly pleased with what I'm about to get. The game, NHL 21, is going to unlock for me Thursday night, midnight, Friday morning, whatever you want to call it. The topic is about the sliders, because I definitely had to put in sliders because I don't play the 10-minute quarters. I know what I'm going to do when I stream this game, which I will be doing. I'll be streaming this game this Friday, 8:00 p.m. So I hope you folks can make it. I will do it at like 10 or 12 minutes so the game runs a little faster, because I understand nobody wants to sit through an actual 20-minute period type of game. It's a struggle. It's a fight. Some of the stats are kind of blown up and whatever when you do it. But the way I have my sliders set up, it's going to be the type of game where it's not going to be clean. You're not going to get the crisp passes all the time. You're not going to, it's not going to be pretty. You're going to see a bunch of hits, pushes, shoving, people jockeying for position. You're going to see a lot of board play. You're going to see some deflections, penalties. A fight may break out, which I'm glad there's a sport that I can play. A fight can break out and it's legal. Watch somebody get knocked the fuck out. But yeah. So yeah, I'll be streaming NHL 21. But as far as my sliders, I definitely have everything set up. I think one of the biggest things I went into with the sliders was the attribute effects. I feel like with the attribute effects, it's a multiplier of what the ratings are. The closer to... Now, here's the thing. I actually know for sure what the attribute effects mean, because doing research, you come across a few things. Going into Operation Sports forums, come across one forum where it's guys talking to an NHL dev. And the NHL dev, as far as attribute effects, said that the reason why they have it on 5, because that's the most balanced as far as like the rating cap. And it's saying that you'll get your highly skilled players performing at their best potential and being able to separate themselves from the lower end players at 5. It's basically 0 out of 10. So you have it at 5, that's your balance, which, 5 is half of 10. Makes sense. I tend to put it at 1 because what I see happens is that when I have it at 1, yes, the top tier players' ratings take a hit and kind of puts all the players and provides more parity in play. And that's what I'm interpreting as bringing the slider down to 1, not 0, but 1. So the top tier players are not going to perform at their best as far as their ratings are concerned, but they are going to play with their abilities. Their ratings are going to show. They're going to show up in these games, but it's going to be in the realm of the team versus the individual standing out on its own. I am going to experiment and put it back at 5 when I get the game, so that way I can have more time to realize this. But when you have it, let's see. But when you have it the other way, if it goes more than 5, what happens is these bottom tier players, they come along for the ride, and all of a sudden they're playing like the top tier players. So you'll have like enforcers, you'll have people who normally can't handle the puck. All of a sudden they're doing the same thing that Sidney Crosby can do. It's things that Ovechkin can do. People scoring at a rate that, you know, Ovechkin, Austin Matthews, damn, I can't think of the other player. I can't even think of the other player's name. It's like escapes me in a second. But, you know, the top tier players. The bottom tier players will start playing like the, hey, what's up, Tada? I just saw you. Let's see. Antonio, will you still play the game if you get the next gen system? Yeah, I'm still going to be playing the game. I'm keeping my current gen system even if I get the next gen. So I'm not one of these people that's like, you know, especially since I don't even have it pre-ordered. So, and I am in no rush to be all over sites trying to find it when it's, because it's a 2 to 3 year transition for these games. And yes, I also heard about the blog for 2K. I'm gonna leave that for all of us, myself, VF, and Bills to discuss on First Frame Rate. We will talk about that tomorrow night. That will be talked about because I have some thoughts. And let's just say I downloaded Live 19 just to give you a preview of where I may be heading with that. So, all right, so Doug's like, I got EA Play. I think I'm going to download it tonight. I'm off tomorrow, kind of sick of Madden. That's why I haven't touched the game. I haven't, ever since the, I haven't played Madden 21 since the closed beta. That's the only time I played. I could download the trial if I wanted to, but I'm not touching it. I am not touching it at all. But NHL comes out, we'll definitely. But so that was a tribute effects. I know I'm sounding kind of long-winded, but hey, we had to get this out. So that was really the main, well, a fatigue effect, because these sliders are kind of set for what I think a 20-minute period should play out. It's going to be real time because I want players to be able to, I want to have the time to not, I don't want to feel like it's an up and down arcade. It's already programmed that way, where it's up and down, end to end type of gameplay. I want the computer to recycle their play, pass it around to try to get it through the neutral system, and dump the puck whenever. Now, there's a debate between myself and Bills and a lot of other people. The Live King, we talked about this in a little bit, is the fact that at the rate that CPU dumps the puck. Now, towards the end of NHL 20, the CPU was dumping the puck at a good rate. Seems like right now they're not in NHL 21, but I'm sure by the time I get my hands on it, there's ways you can make the CPU dump the puck. Sometimes you have to force the issue yourself, because because CPU does a good job of making sure you dump the puck. They will cut you off, they will hit you, they will close ranks quick in the neutral zone to get you to dump the puck. You kind of have to do the same. And this is where I feel like this year the players, their defensive positioning is way better than it was in 20. Way better. They're more active with the sticks, with the swipe, the poke check, blocking shots and stuff. They're way more active. They're more aware. They more react to where you are positioned defensively. Like, I've been able to like stall out teams in their own zone with a good pressing forecheck. And then when I've backed off, oh man, just to be able to like trap people, man. And then when if you switch to a defenseman and they're driving down the side of the ice, it's just as simple as getting a good angle and closing them off. You can either hit them, run into them, bump them off the puck, so they lose possession. And it's like, that's what they do in from what I see on TV, because I haven't played the sport. I would like to play the sport before I am no longer able to play any sports, because apparently I was gifted enough to be able to play sports for a long time. I've been playing any type of sport since I was 3 years old. I am 40 years old. That's 37 years I've been playing sports. man. So I would definitely like to, and I've played all types of sports except for ice hockey. Played lacrosse, played soccer, football, baseball, basketball, handball, track and field, all types of stuff. So I've been doing this for 37 years. You think my body is tired of this? My mind isn't tired of this. My body's like, sit your ass down. But yeah. So as far as dumping the CPU, dumping the puck, you kind of have to force their hand. You definitely have to force their hand. So yeah, so that kind of gives you guys a background. When I'm talking about sports, that's how many years I bring into it. I'm like, I hit my first home run at the age of 3. My father had us in the backyard, had me in the backyard, had the little, like, you're talking about 1983. No, I would say 4. I was 4 years old when this happened. It wasn't when I was 3. But I remember had the little automatic, had the little like toy where like you would feed the balls into. It wasn't a pitching machine, but it was the thing. The hand would just slap the ball towards you and you would hit it. And I hit one over the fence. So my first home run was at 4 years of age. My last home run was at 13. Yes, my last home run I hit was at 13 years of age. So even though I did play a season after that, after the age of 13, never hit a home run ever again. Do you remember Splatter Up? Are we talking? Are you talking about that thing? What I would just describe was that I don't know what the actual name of it was, but it was. I'm like, my father fed the little plastic baseballs into it. And when that baseball got to a certain point, it would drop in, and then the little robotic hand would just, it'd be like a picture of his cartoonish character on this plastic thing that was motorized, and it would slap the ball towards you. And it would kind of come at an arc, so it kind of felt like softball, but not too much. It was like a flat arc, and boom. It was a water machine that pushed the ball up, and you hit. I seen those, but I didn't see those until later in life, like maybe when I was 7 or 8. I don't think we had those when I was 4. Cause you talking about 1984 at that point. Like I was born in 1980, so when I call out an age, more than likely it's gonna be 84, 85, 86. So if I say like I didn't turn 10 until the 90s, I was 10 years old in 1990, and then so on and so on. So it's kind of easy. Oh, you was born 81, so you was the same age as my cousin, my oldest cousin. Yeah, she was born in 81. She was born in 81. Her birthday is 5 days before mine. And we both have March birthdays. Matter of fact, y'all don't know it, but Bill's birthday is in March. But it's like at the beginning of the month. I'm not gonna say what day. That's up for him to decide. But he wants y'all to wish him a happy birthday when that month comes by. Because I actually checked ahead, and we will be doing first and frame rates on my birthday. I checked that far ahead. I'm probably the one that does the far forecasting, even though I'm never good at planning. But I set my alarm up for first and frame rates, and yeah, it'll be on a Thursday, March 25th. First and frame rates. I will be celebrating a birthday. I don't know what episode that's gonna be. That'd be crazy, because we do 2 episodes a week. I'll figure it out, and maybe next stream I'll be able to tell you what episode that's gonna be. But yeah. So where was I as far as the NHL 21 sliders? So fatigue effect was one that, yeah, for a 20-minute period type of game, you want fatigue effect up to 90. You want your players, you're kind of, when you do that, you're kind of forcing the AI to into line changes fast. Typical line change is about a minute long. Longest will probably be like a 2-minute shift, and usually that's in desperate situations, or when your team gets hung up in its own zone. Maybe when they ice the puck and they've been out there almost like 30. Usually you want to shift lines at the early stage of the game, a minute at the most. A player will be on the ice before you change lines. And then what I like to do is try to do it every 30 seconds. Like make sure I change lines, change off the forwards, the defensemen. And with the fatigue effect on 90, it's more imperative that you do that. You stick to that throughout the whole game. This is where you get into dumping the puck. Because dumping the puck, pretty much, if you get that timer, and it takes a while to get that timer in your head, especially playing a video game, because most people are playing the 10-minute slider, so the game runs fairly quick. But in a 20-minute game, there are times where it's just like, just dump the puck. There are certain lines that are going to be out there. If you play to their strengths, dumping the puck is the best thing they can do. And these team strategies, franchise will be the best way to see what team strategies each team is using, because they have these fictional coaches that have different systems. They have a coaching carousel, which Madden doesn't have, which is crazy. All right, so Doug, do you use the sticks or the buttons? I use the sticks. Ever since they had the skill stick, and they were one of the first. Trying to figure out. Live had the skill stick, and then NHL kind of had the skill stick too. But NHL was the first to actually use it in shooting. So, did you see House Party in theaters when it came? No, I saw it at home on HBO. Yeah, I don't think I went to a lot of. I didn't think I seen a lot of, but I seen Ninja Turtles when it came out in theaters. I think I seen part 1 and 2 in theaters for Ninja Turtles, but not House Party. I caught that at home. Shoot, my uncle, may he rest in peace. He took myself and my cousin. He took us to see Ninja Turtles. So that came out, I think, the week of my birthday. But I tell you, the birthday present I got was watching, which movie did I see recently that was in my birthday week? Was it episode 3? Oh no, it was Batman versus Superman. That came out the week of my birthday. I was hyped about that, watching that. But yeah, NHL sliders are fatigue effect at 90. But then the next column, I believe, is skating. And one of the things that I hate about NHL right out the gate is that they are moving around too fast. I have to go in and decrease the skating speed for all the players. I don't have to do it individually. I do it through the sliders. I decrease the speed. I've kept everything else at default. Acceleration. I think back skating, I'm keeping at 90. I'm kind of aware that not all players lose too much speed when they have the puck or when they're back skating, because these guys are athletes, professional athletes, world-class athletes. So when they skate backwards, they're not gonna lose too much speed. When they have the puck, they're not gonna lose too much agility. They're not gonna lose too much speed. So, but overall, speed-wise, I slow their asses down. The one of the most important categories is passing. A lot of it is dependent on their reaction to passes. If a pass is coming too fast, how quickly are they able to react? If a pass is right next to them and somebody passes it over to them too fast, do they react to it quick enough? In most cases, there are a lot of passes get deflected. A lot of passes are not cleanly picked up off of when receiving a pass. Some people do struggle with handling a puck, and you want to see that depending on the player, because each player has a puck control rating. So I have the passing set up to where they're going to be defensemen that you don't want to handle the puck. Especially when you recycle and stuff like that. And you'll know, like, once you know, after your defender has turned the puck over a couple times because it glanced off his stick, or he just couldn't react in time, you'll know who they are on the ice. So I made sure I adjusted sliders there. Shooting, I definitely had to turn down the accuracy, because if the accuracy was left at default, I would have 60 shots on each side. No cap. So I have 60 on each side. So I turned down the shot accuracy for one-timers, for regular shots, and for slap shots. I kept the shot power at default for regular shots and slap shots, because you need the way I have the goaltender set up, their reactions are a lot faster. You definitely need some whistlers to go right past them, and they do happen. So that would lead to shooting. That would lead to I think it's puck control. I didn't really do too much there. Checking, I kind of reduced the hit power of most players, so I can get more of the shoving and the shoving and the elbowing and the jostling for position type, because they do have contextual animations to people slipping through, to getting through certain checks, but they stay on their feet. Most hockey players, they tend to, like, the biggest hits are the ones in the middle of the ice. Those are the most dangerous hits, by the way, because there's nothing to disperse the energy. They get hit along the boards. You're better off getting hit along the boards, not into the boards, like head first. Like, I've seen some people get paralyzed, but your safer hits are along the side. But the thing is, the way I have it is that with the puck being loose, with what I've adjusted in the previous category, with the puck being loose, there's going to be more board play, more like jostling along the boards to gain possession of the puck. You even have to take onus of when is a good time to engage in board play. Sometimes when you want to maintain possession of the puck in your own zone, and it's just like you and maybe another forward, you hold triangle along the boards, and he'll skinny up to the boards, and he'll just like move it with his skate, and that actually helps in maintaining possession of the puck. While, like, let's say if somebody's catching up, or you were in the middle of a line change and you just happen to carry the puck into the offensive zone. So you have stuff like that going on. So one thing I will increase is the preparedness effect, because that does change. It literally changes folks' ratings in the middle of it. I know folks don't tend to check during the game the ratings, but I think the ratings do take a hit. Ratings do take a hit during the game. Fatigue will hit those ratings, and the more you hit a person, I think that feature is still in the game, where these hits will affect pass accuracy, shots, all that. There used to be a feature called, like, where you could tell a player was intimidated. I think that's still kind of in there, but not really. You don't really see it, but you kind of see sometimes you hit a person, they pass it too soon. I also got pass accuracy down low too, so that also helps keep the play messy. And you know, where the game slows down to where players are not like just passing it, like no look passes off the whatever. And then after that, goaltender. Let's see, goaltender. There's AI, and then there's penalties. Penalties I lower right out the gate, because tripping, slashing, and a couple other penalties get called way too much. And if I'm trying to play a 20-minute period game real time, I want those called infrequently. And by lowering those sliders, you definitely will get the infrequent. I got it to a point on NHL 20 to where I was getting, like, the computer would get like 3 attempts at a power play on an average. Sometimes they'll get 1. Sometimes they get a clean game. that does tend to happen. There are games where teams don't get a chance to engage in the power play. That can happen. You can have a clean game, no penalties. Sometimes you kind of see that in the playoffs. So, and then there are games where I'll get like 4 or 5 penalties because I've been able to draw defenders into hooking penalties, tripping, slashing, boarding. Like boarding, you can easily draw people. And you just hold the puck long enough and you pass it just as they've reached the fastest point velocity wise, and then they hit you, and the ref is like, "Up, boarding, charging," or whatever they call. So, I know this is off the topic. What is y'all favorite hip hop artist growing up? Mine was literally Will Smith. Will Smith, I would say Will Smith, Ice Cube, and I know he was brought up in the news, and yeah, I will be bringing him up later. Ice Cube, Nas, Snoop, Dre, but technically it was Will Smith. So that, I think that was the first time that me and Philly had something in common. Now I gotta deal with Philly all over and on Twitter, because all of a sudden there's this weird connection between myself and Philly. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like people I've been running to on Twitter, either from Philly, they don't live in Philly anymore, but they were from Philly, they rep Philly, they like the Flyers, they like the Eagles, they like the Phillies, 76ers, and whatever other Philadelphia garbage ass teams that pop up from there. But yeah, but just to finish off the NHL 21 slider talk, so I basically did all that, and also I turned the AI portion, I kept the AI learning, which is adaptive AI. NHL, it has been there forever, so that's why when you kind of see it in Madden, I'm sitting, like, even though I don't have the game, but I did experience it in the closed beta, how it's just like, oh, finally they put adaptive AI in the game, something I've been asking for and was acknowledged in hearing about when Smitty retweeted a tweet that now has been fulfilled about adaptive AI, and how people literally were crying about the fact that there's adaptive AI in the game. But Madden has adaptive AI in the game, and I knew it was about time. It was about time, because I've been calling for it for like years, like almost a decade. I'm calling for adaptive AI, but people should have proper play calling. No, individual players should individual AI should be able to adapt to you on the fly. If they know you've been running to the right side of the line the whole entire game, somebody should be able to cheat over there. What do you think? But yeah, so I have all that set up on NHL 21. CPU strategy adjustment, I got it to 1 because teams don't usually engage in extreme strategy changes. Usually they play their systems and that's that. They make subtle changes. They don't make extreme, like if you're a coach in any sport, you don't make an extreme change unless, like, let's say you have a superstar that gets knocked out of a game. That's when you make an extreme change. But other than that, if you're playing everybody and you're in the midst of a game and stuff, the opponent starts to do something different that doesn't fit your system, you kind of make small subtle changes. So that's what I did. And I think it's 1 out of 6 on the slider for that. So yeah, so NHL 21, I can't wait to play it when it comes out. It's already out for those that bought the 70, the 80, and the $100 edition. I can't believe it was a $100 edition of this game. Fuck that. Not for a current gen game. But it has all the bells and whistles. It definitely has all the bells and whistles. I can't wait to play that via pro mode. I think actually what I'm gonna do, depending upon how long I stream, I played a quick game first. I'm gonna feature some Be a Pro gameplay in the stream Friday. Would y'all be down for that? Because I would definitely like to throw that out there. Because get in a quick game and then just get the game out the way. We can experience Be a Pro together. I figure you guys will like that. So that should unlock for me midnight Thursday night, or right after, like pretty much after our podcast. I get to sit, wait, and then I jump on it. So as midnight hits, it's already because I had it on the trial. It's already downloaded on my hard drive. So I'm gonna have fun. All right, so now that the fun has been talked about, we have to talk about some not so fun news. We just talking about, okay. Let's see, you think Madden 21 will be good on next gen or not really? I'm on record as saying, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record because I've said this many times, I think it'll be a port. For me, how good the game is irrelevant. I think it'll be a port. People are thinking they're gonna get news like they're getting from NBA 2K, and I've been saying this from the jump. The reason why you're able to get a free upgrade is because they're just gonna enhance the graphics, maybe give you subtle differences, but it's basically the same game. So overall, I don't think the game is good enough to warrant any type of purchase. That's just my opinion. The gameplay may be fine. The gameplay is fine. They have to, it's like the way I look at that game, the way I approach making a game, developing a game, is that you work on everything every single year. You work on every aspect of a game. You do not leave anything untouched each year. You don't go heavy on something and nothing on one thing for 1 year. You kind of have to balance out what you do. Yeah, and overall, you won't see a significant difference in certain things, but you'll see overall, like if you concentrate on the overall balance of the game, whether it's through your modes, through your gameplay, presentation, if you focus on those three aspects, and also you work on your online stuff, you focus on that and balance that out, you'll be straight. But that's not what this development team has been doing, has been directed to do. I'm not going to say that's what they're doing on their own. Obviously, they're being directed to do it. But with it being the same, possibly the same game being a port, I already felt like the gameplay was good offline. Just make that clear, offline. But at this point, next gen is irrelevant because more than likely, like I said, you're gonna get enhanced graphics. You're gonna get faster loading times because that's what the console is offering. It's not what the game is offering. It's what the console is offering. In which, to tell you the truth, if I got Madden 21 on PC right now, I would have faster loading times and a graphical enhancement. So that's a wash. But let's move on because I didn't want to spend too much time on that. So Ice Cube was in the news, well, is in the news, and apparently people are, I believe people overreacting to what he is basically doing. So he's kind of been in a think. He's kind of been, it seems like the way he looks, not in this picture obviously, but that picture that picture right there, he's grown out his beard. He's kind of, it seemed like he's been, I'm like, with the pandemic, everyone's been isolated, right? Got that COVID-19 beard. You know, I'm kind of going that, but when you're isolated, you kind of have your own thoughts. And you do research and you sit here and you can't, without the noise of everyday life, you are literally left with your own thoughts. And I feel like this man has an independent thought that people don't find popular, because people don't engage in independent thought enough these days. Everybody wants to join the bandwagon. Everybody wants to join his side, you know, in this adversarial part of society. And now they're getting on Ice Cube because he hasn't backed Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Even though he hasn't stated he's backing Trump or anything, he says he doesn't trust anybody. He doesn't trust Trump. He doesn't trust Biden. I'm like, what do you want this man to do? I understand what he's asking for, and we really have not seen that. And you know, being African American, you wonder with each president that's been here, even with Barack Obama, you wonder, what is it in for? What does each party have on the agenda for us? It seems like, I'm like, Democrats, the Democratic Party openly has catered to African Americans, but it seems like it's now at a point where it's, I forgot what they call it. It's like they pander. It's pandering at this point that they do, because once the Democrats get in control, everything goes to a standstill. Not really that forward progression that you would think that with all the energy they put into pandering, you would think there would be something accomplished, but nothing gets done. Republicans have put no energy into doing anything for African Americans. Now, I'm not going to say that neither party doesn't want to do anything for African Americans. I think with a conservative approach, it's more they want to do things for everybody. They don't want to pander to one race or one aspect of the United States. With the liberal approach, you do have the let's push this one thing and, you know, push it as far as we can. And it seems like the one thing they've pushed has not been with African Americans, it's been with the LGBTQ community. And that's not a bad thing, but you didn't really, you know, push us forward enough in order to now focus on the LGBTQ community. And that's where I feel like we need to balance out how we approach society. We need to help all people, but then making sure that each race, each culture, each religion, everybody is taken care of in with their own issues. Alright, so Doug is like, I have a buddy who thinks Republicans have done more for African Americans than Democrats. What do you think? No, that is not true. And it kind of depends on the time period too, because everybody likes to play that, oh, well, the Republicans were the one that freed the slaves. Well, let's actually look at that. Did they actually want to free the slaves? No, they did not. Let's just talk about reality. Abraham Lincoln only freed the slaves because there was a strategic advantage in beating the South. So, if the Republican Party at that time period, Abraham Lincoln, really wanted to free the slaves, he would have done it before. But he didn't. And I ain't talking about during the war. I'm talking about well before it. When he became president, did he think about freeing the slaves? No. Before the war began? No. only when you were about to lose the war, because believe it or not, the South was winning at a certain point. Oh, they were encroaching. Matter of fact, you hear about the, like, here in Maryland, you hear about the fact that they burned down, that the Confederacy burned down Washington D.C. Burned it, but they could only get as far as Baltimore. Fort McHenry, Baltimore was able to hold pat for the Union, and then you had the battle, I guess the battle of Gettysburg. And yeah, that's when the Union started turning around. And then Abraham was like, you know what? Slaves are free. Because even though they're the Confederate States of America, I run the whole country, so I control who's free or not. But it wasn't because he cared for black people. No. It was a strategic advantage. He weaponized slavery against the South. If it wasn't going to be weaponized, he wasn't going to free the slaves. So let's get rid of that whole talk about the Republicans freeing the slaves, because they did it only because they could use it against the South. That's it. If they were really about human rights at that moment in time, they would have done it. They would not have allowed it in the first place. Let's just keep it a buck. The Democrats birthed the KKK. That is also true. But you know where that ideology is now? Amongst the Republican Party. Basically, what I'm saying is that we need not focus on what the name of the party is, but what the ideology is at that current moment. I had to bring up that quote from Darth Maul in the final episodes of the Clone Wars. The rules are in place. The rules of society are set by the current power base. And I'm not saying an exact quote, but in summary, it was basically like the rules are put in by the ruling power and can only change if there's a change of power. So within these parties, whatever the ruling party is, ruling ideology within that party, those are the rules they're gonna go by. So right now, Democrats are ruled by the fact that African Americans control their destiny. So they have to pander to us, but they don't have to literally do anything for us. That's where Ice Cube is trying to address, because they've asked for our vote, they've gotten our votes, but what have we gotten in return? We got the crime bill that, in their own admission, didn't even work. It put more of us in prison. That's why you had Ice Cube with songs like "Fuck the Police" and NWA, and when he was in NWA, "Fuck the Police," and you know, in his solo career, pretty much talking about the LAPD and stuff like that. Apparently, a Trump advisor or a Trump representative came out and gave Ice Cube a shout out, because I guess they're working on the platinum plan that Trump is laying out, which is, tell you the truth, to call it the platinum plan is another pandering name to try to garner African American votes. And the reason that most African Americans won't go for that plan is because they know the motive of Donald Trump, and they know that he's a liar. He probably lied about having COVID. He probably just has pneumonia. He's been reckless in everything he has done. He half does things. He exaggerates on everything. He's narcissistic. He's all these things. Now, I understand that Ice Cube wants to get to the heart of the matter. So it's like he doesn't care who's in power. And I think we need to get out of the way of thinking Republican Democrat because that's like gang, like Bloods and Crips. Like, oh, I won't work with you because you're a Crip. You know, thug life, whatever. I don't know. Whatever the case may be. So, Ice Cube is trying to do stuff for us. He's not. See, and the thing is, at least he came out and said that that's what he's doing. Like, he's trying to find out what the agenda is for us. Like, what's the plan? What's in the plans for us? I know you got all the, like, looking at these parties, it's like, look, we understand you have these agendas and stuff like that, but what's the agenda when it comes to us? Give us a plan. That's all he's asking for. And he's willing to work with anyone. Apparently that's dangerous, because you can't have, because in today's society, in politics, you can't have an independent thought. You can't be neutral. This is some gang shit that people have engaged in. I literally, again, on Facebook, I get bullied for having an independent thought. I get bullied for having a constructive criticism of my own party. And I will stay being a Democrat. I won't switch parties. But it's like, you need to get along. You need to get in where you can fit in, or we're gonna throw your ass out. Like I said, I had a death threat failed at me at one point. So, all right, let's see what Antonio said. What will be your reaction if he were to get reelected? The same as it was in 2016. I'll start laughing. And it'll be even more of a laughter, because it'll be like, I tried to tell everybody, here we go again. It's like no one learns anything. But here's the good news. Here's the one thing that does give everybody hope. It gives me hope too. More people are voting, whether it's mail-in, absentee, early voting. They have already reported that there is increases in the amount of people voting. And typically when more people are able to vote, that's why voter suppression, that's why it's important to understand that Trump literally is calling for voter suppression. He literally is saying this. And voter suppression dominantly affects poor people, and in particular African Americans. Just saying. I'm like, some states are trying, like some local courts are trying to say, oh, there can only be one ballot box in a particular area. That area happens to be where most of the blacks are. So if everybody can only get to that one spot, and they had to come from way out to get there, some people don't have vehicles, some people take public transportation, some people have COVID. We are still in the middle of a pandemic, and the reason why we have mail-in balloting is because to keep people safe. Period. It's not to steal an election. And to tell you the truth, I believe we were going to go to this route anyway, because it's more convenient. It gets everyone involved. Some people don't want to go to they want to go to the election polls. They don't want to they don't want to physically go out and vote because they don't want to go outside. It's not that they're trying to fraudulently get multiple votes and do all that stuff. That stuff at the same time does exist. There are people that are fraudulently, what they call it, ballot harvesting. That is a thing. So yeah, but I feel I'm with Ice Cube on this one. People get mad because he didn't automatically just join along. It seemed like most of the celebrities jump on the Democratic side, and then they jump out in front, and then nothing happens for the regular folks of us, of African American descent, so or African Americans, period. So I'm with Ice Cube on this one. What's the agenda? Republicans, Democrats? So what's the agenda? What's in it for us? I do believe in that. So, and it can't be about it. We ask this question because we're not dealing with symbolism anymore. It's not about, oh, Kamala Harris is African American. She's also Indian and hasn't acknowledged her father in quite some time. So that don't mean anything. So we need action. We need tangible results in the African American community coming from the folks that are in power. So that's what the end result may be. But again, I'm with Ice Cube. What's the agenda? Somebody put out a plan. I really don't like the Platinum Plan because I really think the Platinum Plan is empty. So I do disagree with Ice Cube and his Platinum Plan, but we definitely need something for us. For us, by us, and then everything would be straight. Reparations would be preferred, honestly. Actually, no, reparations is mandatory. If that's not in the plan, then we can't talk. I will say that. All right, so last thing we'll talk about, and before we get out of here, and it's almost 10 o'clock. So this popped up. This was interesting. On CNN, the rare chance that this happens, I definitely had to bring this up. So Wolf Blitzer was interviewing Nancy Pelosi, and things got heated. As you can tell, the look on her face in this picture. This is exactly this wasn't the side-by-side picture, but that look on her face was her exact look. Her shaky hands as she was trying to, explain. She went on a rant in one of her answers. Wolf's trying to just give her the tough questions, which I'm glad he didn't back down from the questions that he was asking. I feel like, so basically what happened, Wolf Blitzer was asking her, they had her on the show. He was asking her questions about this stimulus bill, which has been negotiated ever since since May. The House passed the bill that has been sitting on McConnell's desk. You want to talk about somebody that hadn't done their job? McConnell the turtle definitely doesn't do it. Definitely doesn't do a job. All right, so Doug is like, what do you think about black conservatives like Candace Owens and Anthony Bryan Logan? I've never really heard of Anthony Bryan Logan. Candace Owens has said some vile ass things, but I'm not gonna sleep on her because she does come across as one of the intelligent ones that you could have an open conversation with. I'm not just gonna automatically dismiss her because I'm not the type that that emotionally responds to a person like her. She's waiting for you to respond emotionally so she could respond logically. You have to logically deal with her in order to beat her. If you can beat her with logic, once she doesn't have anything logical to say, and she's been caught a few times, she's done. But she seemed like Candace Owens would be a person I could talk to, because you talk about open minds. She once was a Democrat. She once was a liberal. Something changed. I'd be the one to ask questions. I try to express an open mind. People don't come to me with questions. They come with judgment and death threats. So, but yeah, this Wolf Blitzer, Nancy Pelosi exchange. So Wolf Blitzer is asking her questions about the stimulus package, which McConnell, it was passed by the House back in May, but it's been sitting in McConnell's desk ever since then. So they've been negotiating this deal between the Republican Senate and the Democratic ruled House for 5 months. Within this 5 months, they've gone on recess, I think twice. There's definitely no deal on the table right now. Well, there's a deal on the table, but there's been no, how would I say it? There's been no concession being made. So Wolf is asking her, why don't you take the deal that's currently sitting on the table by the Republicans, where it's like a $1.8 trillion deal sitting on the table? And she lays out her reasons, but her reaction is something that she could have done without. She basically became unhinged, defensive. And here's the thing, just to add context. I'm sure she's under a lot of stress. I'm sure trying to hold pat for something that you really want, like, because they have a 2.2 trillion dollar spending deal. It was 2.4, but apparently she cut like 0.2 billion out of it, so now it's 2.2 billion dollar stimulus package. The Republicans have a 1.8, so they're getting close to a deal. They're getting close, but now I guess the goal line for the Democrats is 2.2. The goal line for the Republicans is 1.8. Apparently, Trump, throwing a monkey wrench and everything, says he wants to spend more than neither one of them. So she's trying to hold the fort down for the House Democrats, but really doesn't have any leverage on the Senate Republicans. And Wolf is asking her, why don't you take the deal? Because you got people out here about to lose their homes, can't pay their rent, people out of work, they need a lifeline, they need it yesterday. And she automatically goes on the defensive, and it's like, oh, you're bringing out those Republican talking points and blah, 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 blah. Then she goes on this mad rant where there's a ton of information, good information that comes out in this rant, talking about just where they were, where they have made like the Democrats have already made concessions in bringing down the amount that they wanted to spend, but they don't want to. I guess they don't want to go any further. It seems like the middle ground is 2 billion. It seems like it's right there. It's 2 billion, 1.8, 2.2. I think in the middle is 2. So if you can get it down to 2, I think we all can come to a deal. But it seems like nobody wants to budge. So he's peppering her with questions. I think she expected a softball interview coming from CNN, which this happens on Fox. With Fox, sometimes they have that one person that will pepper a Republican with some hardball questions and stuff like that. So Wolf is just throwing her curveball after curveball. No, actually, he's throwing her like a slider here, slider there. He's not throwing any breaking pitches. He's throwing slider after slider and slider, and she keeps swinging it, and it's like she gets a piece of it, but she mostly misses because she's reacting in anger and frustration and spitefulness. Like towards the end, she was just like, her ego started to get in the way. And who also has an ego that gets in the way? Donald Trump. So it was interesting just to watch how this exchange just ended. She would not let go of the fact that Wolf was being unfair, and she kept talking about, oh, well, you don't know the particulars of what's going on. That's why he's asking the questions. And you let out a lot of information that previously was not known. So thank you, Nancy, for letting us know what the particulars were. But you could have done it without being defensive. I understand the pressure that you're under, but you went into I know more than you do. We represent, well, the Republicans represent people too. The House Democrats are not the only people representing people too. The Republicans are representing people as well. You guys are elected to come to a consensus, not get everything you want. And I think what Wolf was trying to drive home is that no one's going to get everything that you want. And the point of Congress, whether it's the Senate or the House, is that the two sides are supposed to work together to come to a concession, or come to the word escapes me right now, but please somebody let me know. Somebody blurt out the word in the chat because I can't find it right now. But a compromise, there it is. The two sides are supposed to work together to come to a compromise to help the country move forward and get the country on a fast track to be able to wade through this pandemic and this economic cliff that we're heading towards. But neither side is coming to that compromise. It's either their plan or no plan, or we're going on vacation. Any plan will come after the election, what it seems like it's going to happen, and both sides are playing games, with them, with American people, American lives. And I feel like that's what Wolf was trying to explain to her. And there, like I said, there was information that she rattled off that made sense. I'm like, I just like, I totally deflected all the emotional stuff that was coming out between these two, because both were being like, Wolf kind of broke a little bit. He got defensive towards the end. It didn't look good for him either. So overall, that interview just finished badly. And, you know, it's not going to be on me to say it was just Nancy that was being emotional. Wolf got emotional too. They both got caught up in whose ego was bigger than the others. So, let me see. Doug is like, they're both peas in a pod. Yep, exactly. Trump and Pelosi, that is. Yeah, they're all two sides of the same coin. So, just like in the previous segment with Ice Cube, not trusting any of them, I'm right there with him. I don't trust. I've been trying to tell people about Nancy Pelosi for quite some time. She is not the hero that you make her out to be. There's points where, look, you can compromise now. You can always come back and get stuff done later. You're not going to be able to get everything done that you want done. It's just, you got to work with what you have. Right now, you don't have the leverage to get this all done. The 2.2, you're not going to be able to get it all in there. So, but if there are some points that they don't want to budge on, like they take their tax credits, they are eliminated. She hollowed out some tax credits were going to be eliminated in the Republicans' plan. And it was like, oh wait, hold up. Yeah, we're going to need those tax credits, and tax credits that affect you and I. That's a time to hold for pause. Some child tax credits were going to be eliminated. There's stuff that was going to be permanently eliminated with the Republican bill. Unless the Republicans come out and say that that's not true. Right now, she just blurted out what's being taken out, what we have been able to take advantage of for quite some time. And I probably would hold pat too. But then at the same time, it's like, how long can you hold out with not having the leverage that you need? And this thing, unfortunately, this is going to come down to who wins the election. If Biden wins the election, we're probably not going to see anything until January, February. If Trump wins, same thing. We're not going to see something right away. We're going to, and then even, I guess the Senate, if the Democrats even take control of the Senate, last time the Democrats were in control, not much was done other than Medicare, Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act. So, either way, this was a mess. This interview had a lot of good nuggets, but overall the optics were bad. So, it is what it is. Alright, so we have reached the end, episode 4. I'd like to thank Doug Thomas for coming out. He's Villain in Black. Antonio Wilson for stopping by. Thank you. Tadao was here earlier. Quayface was here. Thank you guys for stopping by. And yeah, this has been interesting. Oh, let's check on that score, because Atlanta was getting clobbered. And is that game over with? Let me check. Yep, it's pretty much over. 15-1. And currently it's a tie game between Tampa and Houston. If Tampa wins this game, they sweep the Astros. I want that sweep to happen. Fuck Houston. The Astros, that is. That's the only team in Houston I don't like, because they're cheaters. They have they're in a witness protection program. There's no way that Houston should be even participating in this playoffs. That should have been a penalty. I offered the death sentence when we talked about this on First and Frame Rates. And once again, let me advertise, we go live tomorrow evening on First and Frame Rates. It's probably around 7:45, 8 o'clock. we're definitely going to be bringing up 2K as far as their blog that came out earlier today. I didn't want to take the steam out of it and talk about it on my podcast, because this will have more weight on the first and frame rates. And we definitely let's see. There's some other stuff we're gonna bring up, but we'll get together right before. Yeah, we got our ass kicked. Yeah. So make sure you tune in. First and frame rates on VF's channel tomorrow around 7:45, 8 o'clock. We'll probably post something out to say exactly what time. And yeah, be there. I know you guys are faithful listeners, and you guys pretty much come over here just to check out what we got. All right, I see you, Doug. I see you tomorrow. See you later, Tadao. Yeah. So other than that, I bid you guys farewell. I'll be back again next week. Oh no, that's right. I'll be back on Friday here on this channel with NHL 21. We'll do some games. We'll do be a pro. I'm not doing anything online because I'm already. And just to let you know, the format will be a little bit different because I'll be broadcasting from my PS4, so it won't be this lovely setup that I've have myself. I won't be like, it's funny because behind the camera up on the wall I have the Washington Capitals 2018 championship parade towel, because I was at the parade, like the only championship parade I've been to in the DC area. But the Braves have my respect. The Braves, one last thing I will say about the Braves, they've experienced a lot of heartbreak, just like the Dodgers. But the Braves, I felt like it was more heartbreak because I felt like they had the better team in a lot of instances. They did take advantage of the Pittsburgh Pirates, though. You know, young, skinny Bonds and Andy Van Slyke. You know, that team that probably could have beaten the Braves all those times, but couldn't. And then the Braves couldn't win the World Series. Except for that, I think Braves won it one time. Didn't you guys win it at least one time? I got my merch. I put a picture in the Discord. Hold on, let me check it out. Because you guys have seen me with my World Series championship shirt for the Washington Nationals. I was happy to advertise that. I've also had merch for my Washington Capitals. See, the Mystics didn't have a parade, but, you know, if I got a hat for the Mystics, I would be broadcasting that too. So, but yeah, I'll check it out when we get off the stream. Oh yeah, it was 95. Didn't y'all beat the Cleveland Indians? Y'all beat another Native American themed team? Bunch of cannibals. But anyway, cannibals in a symbolic sense, not literal. I'm probably gonna get canceled for that. But the Braves have a great team and they are young too. Yeah, we won one in 95. Yep. Yeah. Because, and it's funny because the Indians beat the Orioles in the 95, I think it was the 95 ALCS. They beat the Orioles that year to get to the World Series. And I used to be an Orioles fan back then. So that's why I still hate the Yankees. I hate the Blue Jays. They can all kiss my ass. So whenever I see those teams, it's just like, I'm glad Tampa was the one that took out, was Tampa when it took out New York? Yep. It was Tampa that took out New York. They thought they were going to get past Tampa, but Tampa was like, nope, game 5. All right, y'all. I'm out, and I'm going to check out the rest of this game. Hopefully Tampa pulls it out so we can say bye-bye to Houston. We can just wave them bye-bye. Correa can shut his ass up. Finally. About to get swept. Bunch of bitches. Anyway, thank you guys for coming out. Have a good night. Peace.